Warning: the following video contains explicit language, which may be offensive to some viewers or inappropriate for children. The content within this video is intended for mature audiences only.
Everybody, it's Jeff. Well, everybody's here. I hope you have a good day. Wednesday here. We had 4 or 5 inches of snow last night, and today it was the snow was like really wet, and it was. The clouds are kind of parting, and the sun was peeking out today, so it was nice. I mean, but yeah, I mean, it made the roads slippery, and but it was just an average snowfall. I mean, not much. Everybody was saying it's going to be a storm, it's going to be a storm, but it's like, what I call a storm is not the same thing as what this current generation calls a storm. Okay, the storms that they fret over. Nothing would shut down on anything like that. We had buses that would drive through, 3 feet of fucking snow to go take you to school. Okay, today they won't even drive on on 2 inches of snow. So it's not the same. It's all relative. I just kind of find it laughable that they shut school down, and you look out the window, it's like, there ain't a lot of snow out there. They could go today. What the hell they do? I don't know. Times change, I guess, huh? Anyway, speaking of times changing or something, I don't know how many of you are even aware of the election they had in Tennessee yesterday, and I wasn't really following it too much because, for one thing, Tennessee is a very red state. It's like the home place of fucking MAGA, all right? And being how right now the Republicans are trying to hang on to every seat they got, I knew they were going to dump a ton of money into that election down there. So it's like, yeah, I mean, whoever the Democrat is that's running against Matt Van Epps was like really going to be, just at a disadvantage. And the fact that, and I hate to say this, but I guess it still applies even now, even in 2025, this still applies. The Democrat challenger was female, Afton Bain, okay? And a Democrat, which is, Democrats are always going to be at a disadvantage in a deeply red state. I just, I figured, it's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. But after Matt had won, people started breaking down the numbers, and there was some concern out there in the Republican Party that this was a state that Trump won by 22% percentage points, okay, last year, and Matt won only by 8. So that's like a huge drop in just 1 year, 1 fucking year. 12 months with Trump has done this to him. Okay, 12 months with Trump has ruined not just him, but the party as a whole. And that can't be ignored. And so there's this article here. Let's see who's the one that wrote this here. From the Tallahassee Democrat, written by Gray Rohrer. It says, a Tennessee special election warning sign for GOP, says Ron DeSantis. The governor says he'll call a special session next spring on congressional redistricting. Republicans should take the results from the December 2nd Tennessee special congressional election as a, quote, big warning sign, unquote, according to Ron DeSantis. Every election that's happened since 2024 has been a 10 to 15 point swing towards the Democrats, unquote, DeSantis told reporters December 3rd at an event in Tampa. Quote, overall, Republicans have underperformed, particularly when Trump wasn't on the ballot. Republican Matt Van Epps defeated Democrat Afton Baines, staving off a major upset in a race that attracted President Donald Trump's help to avoid disaster in an overwhelmingly GOP district. But the tight margin was a warning sign for Republicans less than a year from the 2026 midterm elections. DeSantis also dismissed a question about how the poor showings from Republicans, including in Virginia and New Jersey's off-year elections, could complicate the push to redistrict several states to secure the GOP's majority in the U.S. House. Even though DeSantis has bragged in the past about how his veto of the original congressional districts passed by the legislature in 2022 helped to produce new maps in which Republicans gained seats, helping the GOP win in the U.S. House, he dismissed the idea of partisan gerrymandering. Quote, well, the redistricting is irrelevant because the legislature is not allowed to use the partisan data. They have to just draw, and they will do that. That's what our current map is, unquote, DeSantis said. The comments come one day before the Florida House is poised to hold its first hearing on congressional redistricting during an atypical mid-decade election cycle. Trump has called on GOP-controlled states to draw new congressional districts to help Republicans maintain their slender majority in the U.S. House, where they currently have a 219 to 213 advantage over Democrats. 3 seats are vacant. DeSantis has backed his call, telling conservative news outlet The Floridian that he will call a special session next spring on congressional redistricting. He elaborated December 3rd, saying the U.S. Supreme Court will likely strike down part of the Voting Rights Act as part of a redistricting case out of Louisiana, which he argues would require Florida to redraw its map. The court heard oral arguments in the case in October. DeSantis said he believes a decision will come out by February. The December 4 congressional redistricting hearing in the Florida House, though, doesn't mean DeSantis and lawmakers are on the same page on this issue. In fact, DeSantis took the question of the Tennessee special election to expound on his criticisms of the House's GOP leaders, with whom he has repeatedly clashed this year. He cast doubt on the party keeping hold of its supermajority status in the chamber. Quote, based off the House's performance in 25, would they keep the supermajority if the election were today? No, I don't think they would, because I think some of the voters who have appreciated what Florida has done probably have been alienated by that performance, unquote, DeSantis said. He went on to slam the House for rebuffing his initial attempt to pass a strict immigration enforcement measure last January before reaching a compromise bill, and for advancing a bill he claimed would have watered down his, quote, anti-woke, unquote, higher education reforms. Quote, tell voters you want to make universities woke again. See if they'll vote for you for that. Tell them you want to make Florida a sanctuary state, a bill I vetoed in the special session, unquote, DeSantis said. The next regular 60-day legislative session is set to begin on January the 13th. Well, we're talking redistricting again. Something that Texas was trying to do. And then California said, well, if you do that, we're going to do the same damn thing, so that way the Democrats keep their seats. So, I feel like, this was what's happening right fucking now, okay? What's happening right now would have happened earlier if Greg Abbott in Texas did not, stop what he was trying to do, okay? that this would have ended up being a state by state by state by state effort to redistrict all their areas in order to, you know, to hold the line, as it were, against the other side. You know, all the blue states would become more blue, all the red states would become more red, okay? I was expecting that was going to happen, you know, earlier this year. It looks like it's going to happen again, okay, because you got DeSantis telling people, oh, you guys need to redistrict your fucking states because the way this election turned out in Tennessee doesn't look good. We're going to probably get losses here because that's the reddest state you can get here in the U.S. And if they barely squeak by with a win, how do you think that's going to play out in states that are less red? So, yeah, DeSantis is worried. He's nervous, as he should be. You know, the rat. And and I'm sure Trump, you know, is really kind of pissed. But here's the thing. You know, you can redistrict till the cows come home. All right, you can. But the fact is they're not just disappointing Democrats here, the Republican Party. They're disappointing their own people in their party. You know, their base. Why do you think MAGA is just dwindling down here all this year? It's because all the policies that Trump has enacted, all the things that he's been doing, has hurt everybody. Doesn't matter what political persuasion you are, it's hurt everybody. So everyone's suffering here. So when you got a Republican going around talking about, oh, get you higher wages, I'll cut the cost of food and all this stuff, the same thing that the Democrats are saying, okay? And in a red state, he only ekes out an 8-point lead over his opponent. You know, that right there tells you the Republicans are losing faith in their own party here. Okay, they're losing faith, and for good reason. You can't blame these people for that. I mean, Jesus, who the hell wants to live under these circumstances here? And so, you know, I feel like, you know, like I said, I didn't expect that the Democrat would win in Tennessee, but I didn't expect that the victory would have been such a tight squeaker for what's his name there, the Republican. Can't remember his damn name now. Matt Van Epps. Okay, I didn't think it was going to be a tight squeaker because Mike Johnson was down there, and he had Trump on a cell phone on speaker, and Trump was like, you know, vomiting out shit over the speaker to the people that were there gathered. So that tells me right there that the Republicans, their core money was being dumped heavily into Tennessee because they fucking knew there was a chance Van Epps was going to lose. They knew that. They had to. I mean, look, if they are honest pollers, they're not going to come up with bullshit numbers, right? Just to satisfy their own egos. No, they're going to want to know the truth. And the truth showed that was a state at risk. And everybody that saw that, the results that last night over that, they knew we're in trouble here next. We're going to have to double down on cheating before the fact, you know, which is another way of describing redistricting, okay? And dumping tons and tons of money, which means they're going to go after Republicans, donate everything you got. Like they have anything left to give. They've given enough. They've given their homes, they've given their kids, they've given everything to the Republican Party, and it still ain't enough. And yet they're going to come back to their base, and they're going to demand more funds. Or they'll just go to their, you know, big money donors and ask them, fork over money. Well, you know, a lot of the big money donors are getting pissed too, what Trump and what he's been doing. In case you haven't noticed, okay, things are not moving very well in this country right now. You know, as far as, you know, capitalism goes, it's kind of slowed down here. A lot like what's going on in Russia right now, okay? So you can't make money when no one's buying anything. You know, you can't make money, you can't have a business and have it thrive if you end up having to cut workers and putting more people on unemployment. You can't make an economy work that way. You know, it's just very telling. So no, it's not been happy times even for billionaires, even though they got plenty of money to be unhappy with. But, you know, the pinch is being felt all the way around here. And as far as the the base is concerned, uh, I mean, they're dumb enough to give their last fucking dollar to the Republican Party and go hungry. That's what they are. These people, they're fanatical. That's what makes them dangerous, is because that's the way terrorists think. Terrorists will give up their last organ, to a fucking terrorist, or something. That's what they do. So these Republicans will hand over their last buck, okay, expecting that the good things will come to them just like they did last time, okay, and it won't happen. They'll vote, the Republicans will get their vote, and then after that, adios, thank you for your fucking support. Now we're going to go and slash your jobs and slash your fucking wages and take away your health care. That's what we're going to do. Okay? And the fact is that Matt Van Epps was lying his ass off saying about what he was going to do. He was talking like a Democrat when he was running in that campaign. He was talking about all the same things that the Democrat candidate was talking about, that things that are worrying people across the board here in this country. No matter what political persuasion you are, everybody has the same concerns. And so Matt Van Epps was out there trying to sound like a Democrat about what he wanted to do. Okay? But the Republicans are not really, are not going to jump into the deep end of the pool so easily this time. Okay? And so even though the Democrat lost, the Republican faith in what Van Epps was saying had, diminished. They don't think the Republicans are going to honor a damn thing. They don't think Van Epps is going to honor a damn thing that he said he was going to do. What he is a rubber stamp for Trump, okay, who's going to sign off on everything Trump does. That's all his task is going to be, okay, when he gets sworn in. That's it. That's all he's going to do. Trump wants to cut your wages. Okay, yep, he's going to sign that off. It ain't going to matter what he said, 2 days, 3 days ago on the campaign trail. It's not going to fucking matter. They break their promises, just like, people can break pencils. They don't care. It has no fucking value to them. So when they keep doing stuff like this, the Republicans get less and less motivated or less supportive of their party. And this is the Achilles heel to Trumpism, to MAGAism, whatever you want to call it, okay? These people tell you what you want to hear. And then when they get in, they do nothing of what you heard. Okay, they just don't. And that's what's all year long, that's what's been going on. And all year long, that's been chipping away at the majority of Trump's base. Okay, seriously, that's what's been going on. And the damage is done. And right now, the only way they can see pulling out any victories at all in next year's midterms is by cheating and redrawing maps all over the fucking place. Like, if they do that, the Democrats are going to do the same fucking thing. So it negates any fucking redistricting they do in those states. So what are they going to gain from it? Okay? And if they go to the Supreme Court, the court's going to be put in a pickle because, if they say, well, you can't redistrict or something like that, then, they'll lose favor with Republicans. And if you can redistrict, then that opens up the floodgates for the Democrats to go right ahead and do all the same thing. So they're going to be caught in the middle. This is a situation the Supreme Court's not going to want to fucking deal with because, it's a situation that they got shoved into. That's a direct result of people in MAGA simply taking advantage of folks by telling them what they want to hear and not delivering. And because they hadn't delivered on a fucking thing that they said they were, now they're going to pay the price for it. They're going to pay the price. And at the same time, Trump next year is probably going to be fighting, another big battle to stay in office next year. So that all that shit that'll happen next year is not going to be favorable to their party as a whole when they try to run and campaign for the elections. So it's going to be a huge fucking mess next year politically here. I mean, this has been a mess in itself this year. Next year it's going to get even worse. You know, I hate to say this because I know a lot of people are very sick and tired of what's been going on, and they're sick and tired of Trump. I believe you that you are. I am sick and tired of Trump. I want him to go too. But we have to go through the fucking shit in order to come out the other side here. And that's just the way it is. I mean, I'm not going to lie to you about it, okay? It's just, that's the way it's going to stand. So, anyway, let's go to a commercial break, and we'll talk after.
I'm Alex Curtis. I'm a lobsterman in Maine, and this is me.
I'm Roxy Sugar, and this is me.
I'm Eric Hopkins. I'm an artist, and this is me.
This is me.
Me.
This is me.
This is me.
At the end of the journey, the main thing is you, original.
Greetings, fellow patriot. Thinking about applying for a job with ICE? Let's get you prepared before your big interview. Practice zip tying children. Try it on your own kids. Ask them to shake and scream for authenticity. Learn to wear a mask. Study videos of narco-terrorists for inspiration. Build your confidence by beating up women. Ask your sister or your mom if you can rough her up. Don't worry, it gets easier with practice. Practice taking down inflatable frogs. They're big and slippery. Learn to recognize Hispanics. Don't be fooled by a good tan. Know your racial ID signs. Eat a lot. ICE loves a big boy. Size intimidates. If you are a proud boy, don't worry, your resume is already approved. If not, ask a friend from your favorite hate group to vouch for you. And finally, but most importantly, get a good lawyer. You're going to need one. This public service was brought to you by the Lincoln Project.
I thought I'd just get head spins, not nicotine poisoning.
Oh my god. His vape taped.
I wanted to be social. I didn't want the addiction that took over.
I thought it was just a bit of fun, but not being able to breathe because of lung damage is definitely not fun.
It's proven that vapes cause real harm. Every vape is a hit to your health. For more proof, search vaping harms.
Be a part of the entertainment value of a lifetime.
I loved it.
It was the best performance I've seen in a lifetime.
I loved the show. I liked it very much. He's a very entertaining man. It's well worth the money.
Now appearing in Charlottetown, coming to Halifax November 6th to the 18th, and St. John November 20th through the 26th.
this item here just appeared today. This news item. Let me read this here. It's from USA Today. It's written by Eduardo Cuevas, entitled "Key Trump Ally Attacks Speaker Johnson as GOP Holds House Narrowly." A key House Republican ally of President Trump sharpened her attacks against House Speaker Mike Johnson. Representative Elise Stefanik, a Republican from New York, told the Wall Street Journal that Johnson, the Louisiana Republican leading the House of Representatives, was ineffective and a quote-unquote political novice. Stefanik, formerly the fourth-ranking House Republican and now a candidate for governor of her state, said Johnson has lost control of his conference, which has a narrow hold of the chamber. Quote, "He certainly wouldn't have the votes to be speaker if there was a roll call vote tomorrow," unquote. Stefanik told the newspaper in comments published December 3rd, quote, "I believe that the majority of Republicans would vote for new leadership," unquote. Under Johnson, Stefanik told the Journal that House Republicans have underperformed for the first time in the Trump era. The president is, quote, "the leader of the Republicans, and he certainly doesn't need Mike Johnson," unquote, she said. Her attacks are significant heading into the 26 midterm elections as Republicans seek to keep their narrow control in the House. Back in New York, Stefanik has launched her gubernatorial campaign against Democrat incumbent Kathy Hochul. Responding to Stefanik's Journal interview, Johnson told reporters he wasn't sure how to comment on what Stefanik was doing or the rationale behind her comments. Quote, "But if you can talk to Republicans in Congress, 99.9% are united," unquote, he said, according to a transcript from his office. Quote, "We're working together to keep delivering our agenda, and that's my focus," unquote. Well, that's the problem, isn't it? His agenda is fucking this country up. Okay, the White House didn't immediately respond to a request for comment. Johnson, who served as Speaker since October of 23, last faced a challenge in 24 and easily won. His predecessor, California Republican Kevin McCarthy, was ousted in a historic vote that resulted in the House breaking for recess. Stefanik made the comments after she criticized Johnson on December 2nd over her provision that was initially blocked from the annual defense policy bill, saying he had sided with Democrats. The provision, which would require congressional disclosure when the FBI opens investigations into federal candidates, was eventually added back after Stefanik said she spoke with Johnson and Trump, according to her December 3rd X post. Johnson said he and Stefanik had a misunderstanding of the facts on the provision, and they were trying to work through that. Later, Stefanik said on X that the conversation with Johnson was very productive, adding, quote, "I shared my views that House Republicans need to focus on delivering results to the American people," unquote. Yes, they need to, because everything they've been delivering is exactly the opposite of what these people were voting them into office for. Quote, "We had a great breakthrough on an important provision, and we are moving forward to address the affordability and safety issues impacting New York and the country," unquote, she said. Stefanik was initially elected in 2014 as a moderate Republican. After Trump took office in his first term, however, she soon became a key right-wing ally defending him against impeachment inquiries. In his second term, Trump nominated Stefanik to serve as ambassador to the United Nations, but he withdrew her nomination due to concerns about losing Republicans' thin majority in the House. Well, it's still going to happen. On December 2nd, the GOP prevented a major upset in a Tennessee special congressional election. While Matt Van Epps, who was backed by Trump, was declared the winner, his single-digit win against a progressive Democrat in an area that President Trump won by more than 20 points could signal alarm for Republicans looking to retain control of the House. The GOP's path to hold a majority in the House runs in part through Stefanik's New York. Democrats are expected to heavily target suburban districts held by Republicans. Yeah, you know, Mike Johnson, I can't say that he's done a stellar job. Okay, he certainly hasn't done anything that Trump didn't want him to do. So I feel like, you know, yeah, Some Republicans are, like I said, they are breaking away from MAGA here in different ways, okay? And, you know, right now, they're nervous. This fucking, the turnout, what happened in Tennessee, it was a Pyrrhic victory, all right? There was a lot of concern here. They were expecting, you know, a big, you know, huge margin victory because that would have eased their concerns going into the midterms. Instead, it only inflamed them even further. So now people are starting to get bitchy. You know, they're going to start turning on each other. And like I said, you know, this year is the year of decline for MAGA and Trump. Next year, it's going to be about how the fuck do we get rid of that bastard? That's what it's going to be. So, what else we got here? Yeah, okay, my wish coming true. Okay, this has come out today. It's from, where the hell is that from? Okay, Dose of Democracy, okay. Trump panics as new Epstein release exposes a nightmare. How anyone could keep trying to protect him is beyond me. House Oversight Dems released never-before-seen photos and videos of Epstein's island, and the fact that Trump spent so long trying to block the release of the Epstein files has never felt more ominous. The photos and videos show various rooms around Epstein's mansion, including what looks like a dentist office with a chair and a dental tools, and walls that have masks that look like human faces on the wall. And they got a snapshot here that I hope it can show up in here. Let's see. Okay, yeah, it's a little better. Yeah, those little dots on the walls, those are faces. They're like masks or something. I don't know what the hell that's for. But yeah, he's got like a dentist thing there. There was also a photo of a phone with multiple people on speed dial. Though a few of the names are redacted. Well, let me see if we can see some of those names here. Darren, Rich, Mike, Patrick, Larry. I don't know. They block off the first names and stuff. Yeah. This is the phone. Let's see. It's like everything's so fucking bright. Okay. You see that black stuff there? That's redactions. Okay. Some of the photos look just like bedrooms, but knowing the disgusting crimes that took place here makes each photo sickening. We need to secure justice for the victims of Epstein and his friends. I hope the release of the Epstein files, which the DOJ is required to do later this month, bring just that. Yeah, so the more we see, the more we get sick to our stomach. You know what I'm saying? When it concerns Epstein and stuff, you know, honestly, I mean, it's just going to make the hammer that much heavier when it comes down on the heads of Trump there and everybody that was involved in what was going on there, like Ghislaine Maxwell and all them. So, and then this kind of bizarre thing happened here today. Kristi Noem thanks Trump for keeping the hurricanes away. Yesterday's cabinet meeting was one humiliating display of ingratiation after another, with Trump's MAGA capos across the federal government each taking turns heaping saccharine praise on their cult leader for his apparent unmatched presidential prowess. In one particularly cringy moment, Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem congratulated a notably groggy Trump for keeping the hurricanes away this season. Yes, so great our dear leader's powers, no storms dared to make landfall on America's shorelines. It's a good thing, too, since Donald has spent the better part of his first year back in office dismantling and politicizing FEMA, misappropriating critical disaster relief funds for inhumane pet projects like Alligator Alcatraz, while denying aid to blue states that had the temerity to vote against him in 2024. Yeah, this is ridiculous. You know, I mean, how much bullshit does Kristi Noem and anybody else in MAGA at his cabal here of sycophants, how much do they think these Americans are going to take or to swallow? You know, first we want to give him the Nobel Peace Prize, and now he's responsible for getting rid of hurricanes. I mean, and then Trump himself says, "Oh, I stopped 7 wars." I mean, all these things are bullshit, lies, and they just keep throwing them out there. You know, how much do they think this is helping him? Because it's not. Every time they open their yap and they say something stupid like that, that's another point off his approval number. Every single time. So why do they keep doing it, I ask? You know, is it some kind of reverse psychology or something that, you know, maybe they're deliberately trying to sink Trump even further in the polls by saying stupid shit? I mean, because I can't think of any other reason why anyone would go in front of the cameras and fart out lies, okay, like that, when people hearing it, they don't even have to do a fucking, you know, fact search on it. They know it's a lie. Okay, why do they do this? Are these people high when they get in front of the cameras? Are they drunk? You know, I mean, you have to wonder, you got to ask yourself questions, because no sane person would ever get out in front of cameras and lie to that degree unless they're 2 years old. So we have to wonder, you know, if Trump has got mental problems, then there's a whole lot of other people in his cabinet that have mental problems too. Okay? There really is. Because, hey, I mean, do you follow, you know, someone who's insane to jump off a cliff if they do it? I mean, hopefully not. But that's what this administration wants people to do. We're jumping off a cliff and you should join us. I mean, that's kind of what they're doing. So I feel like, you know, where the hell is the logic here in our society? I mean, are we going to be all knee-jerk reactionists? Are we just going to feed off our emotions, you know, because it feels good for the moment? And then when we get told bullshit lies, we just, you know, tune it out like it never was said. It never was said. And that's the way a lot of people in MAGA have been treating Trump. Like when we tell them, well, what do you think Trump meant when he said this? And they're like, oh, we didn't say that, or you got it all wrong. But then they won't even explain how we got it wrong, right? They can't explain it because it is what we heard, okay? Don't tell us that it's raining out when we're being pissed on, okay? So we know. But that's been the tactic of Trump and all his sycophants for, well, the last couple of years anyway, at least, especially when he was running for president. Okay, and this other story here about Pete Hegseth, okay? Pete Hegseth pulls a slimy move as scandal threatens to sink him. Department of War Crimes Secretary Pete Hegseth made it crystal clear exactly where the buck stops when it comes to the critical decisions the Pentagon is making to ostensibly keep this country safe in the lap of any one of his many subordinates, and definitely nowhere near his desk. Hegseth did his damnedest to distance himself from his own, quote, kill everybody, unquote, orders targeting suspected drug runners in the Caribbean Sea, throwing Admiral Mitch Bradley under a very big bus by publicly thanking him for the, quote, combat decisions, unquote, he specifically made. Well, at least it wasn't a boat. Yeah, Pete Hegseth, another failure in our government. You know, talking about people, Kristi Noem and all them being picked and chosen to work for a lunatic. I mean, they have to be lunatics themselves to accept it, because it's definitely a career ender. If you accept a job with somebody like Trump, your days of viability are gone. So whenever Pete Hegseth is finished doing what he's been doing and he's gone, where do you think anyone's going to want to hire him except back at Fox? I mean, that, you know, he's not going to have any credibility to his name. No one's going to want to touch him with a 10-foot pole, okay, as far as the government is concerned, or politics is concerned. But his only place would be right back at Fox, where he can shoot his mouth off at his own leisure, okay? Because that's where a guy like that belongs. That's what he has to do. You know, I don't care about his military career that he had. Certainly wasn't enough to justify getting a job like that. Okay, he was wholly unqualified, and in the first 12 days he proved it. Okay, and so this guy here, he's pissed off, you know, the leadership in the military. He's pissed off Trump on more than one occasion. He's pissed off the country at large. You know, to me, that's a sign of a failure, of a guy not doing his job. Okay, I mean, if you was running a company and you had one guy like that working for you, and he kept screwing up and making a spectacle of himself and putting your name out there, but not in a positive way, wouldn't you fire that son of a bitch? I mean, I would. I say, look, I hired you to do this, but you're not doing it. You're doing all these other things, and it's all backfiring on me. Get the hell out of here. You're gone. Out. You know? Why Trump keeps him on, I don't know. Maybe Trump doesn't care, you know, because he figures, well, he's only got, what, 3 more years to go, and that doesn't matter. He's not going to have to run again for the office, so it doesn't matter. He's in there for retribution, to destroy the government, for going after him after the crimes he committed, okay? That's what he's in there for, and to keep his ass out of jail. That's what he's there for. Ain't got anything to do with anything lofty, like, oh, I'm going to make America great again. No, that was a lofty thing which doesn't fit Trump. Trump does not do lofty things for us or anybody but himself. Okay? If he's going to make America great, it's only going to be great for him. Okay? Only going to be great for him. The rest of us, we're going to be sitting without a table, you know, at the dinner table. We're going to not have a chair at the dinner table. But it's all going to be for him. Okay? That's when he says make America great, that means only for him. So that's what he's been doing. And unfortunately, Trump may not be able to have the wherewithal to be able to appreciate his great America because he's losing his fucking mind. You know? He says things like, what, the other day he was talking about hurricanes and he called them water storms. I never heard that anyone's call a hurricane a water storm, but he did. But guess what? MAGA jumped right on and said, yeah, that's what they are. They're what? You know, yeah, they're water storms. Stupid following stupid. You know, and I'm thinking, boy, these guys, I mean, they are programmed. They're worse than bots. You ever run across a bot in a chat room? Okay? That's what these people are like. They're like bots. They are programmed, okay, to kiss his ass. And when he fucks up, they make it look like he did gold and he crapped out gold. I mean, it's a laughable thing. And they get so pissed off when we point that out. But, you know, they need to look at themselves. Listen to what you say. Listen to what you're doing. Pay attention. You guys are bought and sold little sycophants, little bots. That's all you are, okay? And you can't defend yourself against the bullshit that Trump does, okay? And behind the scenes, you're annoyed equally with anybody else, but you won't show it and you won't admit it. So you're going to willfully sink with the Titanic just to spite what everybody says. Okay? That's a sad, sad fucking position to be in. You know, I can't see how anybody can say that there's a positive in that. You know, it's like, no, there isn't, okay? This country's not founded on following people off the cliff. We have checks and balances in place in our government, or we still should, to protect us from idiots that get into power and try to force us, or the country as a whole, to go off the cliff. And Trump knew this. That's why he, you know, stacked the deck and, you know, the Supreme Court and all this stuff, putting in people that were loyal only to him and not the Constitution, because he knew the only way you're going to sink this country is everyone's got to do it with you. Okay, everybody that's supposed to be there to stop you, they have to be on your side. That's why he put them in place. Okay. So, yeah, it's fucking crazy. Let me see. Senator Mark Warner of Virginia has just announced his re-election campaign. Senator Warner has been one of the leading voices standing up against Trump administration's incompetence, corruption, and chaos. Warner called out RFK Jr. to his face for his dangerous ignorance, and Warner has angered Trump so much that Trump had a meltdown in the Oval Office where he trashed Warner as a, quote, bad guy, unquote. Republicans are going to pull out all the stops to try and unseat him, so he's going to need our help. Yeah, that's like what they did in Tennessee, okay? They sunk all the money they could get their hands on, you know, to get Van, whatever his name is, to keep him in there. You know, they did everything they could. How much money do you think they're, you know, I mean, I guess you could say, you know, those people that are billionaires, that are Trump loyalists to the core, they're going to be asked to dig deeper into their pockets. They're going to be asked to put more of their assets up on the line so Trump can stay, or it keeps his power. But like I said in a previous video more than once, what the hell does Trump care about who's controlling what right now in the Congress or the Senate? Is he listening to them up to this point? No, he hasn't. He doesn't care two shits about what anybody in Congress, the Senate, or the Supreme Court says. You know, if they come out against him on something. He doesn't care. He just does it anyway. So next year, the whole fucking Congress could go Democrat. You know, and it's not going to matter because, hey, if Trump says he's going to do something, he's going to do it. And if you try to stop him, he'll go over their heads. Okay? He'll just, you know, because the reason being is because the people that he issues orders to will follow those orders without hesitation. If he tells the military to start a war somewhere and Congress says, no, you can't do it, guess what? The war gets started anyway because he issued that order to some sycophant in the military. You see what I'm saying? This is the way he's operating. That's why we say he's trying to be a king. It's because he doesn't care about what the checks and balances of our system dictate. He doesn't care what the majority of the country feel about what he's doing. He doesn't care. His approval numbers could be 0, and he still wouldn't care. He's still going to do what he does and what he wants. Well, when you got a mental problem, I guess the ability to care is one of the first things to go, if he ever had that ability in the first place. But you know, you have to consider the fact that, you know, he's so damaged mentally, and probably from birth. I mean, I would say this has been a lifelong problem, you know, that he's never dealt with. This is something that, you know, is coming out in full force now while he's doing his damnedest to kill off the country. And, you know, we have to understand, look, we don't have to follow this guy. We don't. There's no law that says we have to follow Trump. If we know he's breaking the law and he's issuing orders that are unlawful, it's our job to say, no, we're not doing that. That is wrong. You cannot do that. Look, I see it happen all the time, you know, when I'm watching videos, cops, okay, and, you know, the cops sometimes, you know, they overstep their authority and they get slapped down for it later on, okay? Checks and balances, right? Well, if we expect our cops to do their job according to the laws that are there, then why can't we expect our president to do the same, okay? And why do we advocate our right to be able to slap him down hard if he fucks up or he does break the law? To me, nobody wins in that situation here, except maybe the jackass that's trying to get away with shit. But eventually, those kind of things that they do blow back on them anyway. Okay, and you know, just like what happened with Nixon, right? The Watergate thing. You know, for the time, it seemed like it was a good idea, and then all of a sudden, all hell broke loose, and then, you know, he had to resign. But that's what the checks and balances are there for. That's why no one person has all the power in our government, okay? It's the power structure is broken down into entities here, you know, the judiciary, executive, okay? And so this is the reason why it's made that way, so that way there's accountability. There can be a stop, you know, like in a fire, you know, because you got, you know, bricks or something to keep the fire from spreading into the neighboring apartments. Okay, same fucking thing. That's what it's for. So, like I said, there's, you know, there's so much there to be said about, you know, the direction that Trump's taken us. And there's so much more yet to be said about why we shouldn't follow him. You know, I mean, you had people come out, was it a week ago or 2 weeks ago, telling the military, you don't have to follow those orders if he's issuing you orders you know are unlawful. It's your duty to disobey. Because if you do that, which you know is illegal, then you become also equally guilty for committing whatever said crime is, okay? So you will go down with the person that you obeyed the order from. Everybody, all heads will roll, as they say, okay, when it comes to that. Okay, and lastly here, another slam here at certain people. Trump says he doesn't want Somali migrants in the United States and calls them quote-unquote garbage. Listen to this prick. Okay, during his first term in office, Donald openly disparaged black and brown immigrants from so-called, quote, shithole countries, unquote, and wondered aloud why Americans don't have more white people from countries like Norway trying to immigrate here. This time around, the world's most famous racist uncle opted to stick with literal trash talk, labeling Somali immigrants currently living in the United States simply as garbage. To the hundreds of thousands of Somali-born residents and Somali American citizens, Trump had to say this. They, quote, they contribute nothing. The welfare is like 88% or something. They contribute nothing. I don't want them in our country. Their country is no good for a reason. Your country stinks, and we don't want them in our country, unquote. Any questions? Yeah, you see what I'm saying about a guy that's out of his mind, okay? He can, he can make excuses for why he says things the way he does, but we all know he's as racist as they come, okay? He is. There's no excuse for that. Just like the KKK would defend their right to say things that are racist. That's what he's doing. But we know the KKK is full of shit, and we know Trump is full of shit. So when it comes to talking about garbage, I think the garbage coming out of Trump's mouth definitely labels him as garbage. Okay, white trash. I think somebody else described him as white trash with money, but he's still white trash. And he'll always be that. He's a guy who does not want to aspire to be better than what he is. That makes him the worst kind of human being there is. Because he keeps the bar low so he doesn't have to do anything. He'd rather sink into the gutter and have fun there than to try to do something meaningful with all the money that he's got. Something to benefit America. But because he never did that, and he's pisses about America being the worst country in the world all the time, okay, what can you do with a guy like that? You certainly don't put him in the White House, okay? I never heard anybody who ever sat in the White House, disparage this country more than he ever did, okay? Never. It's just, anyone who runs for that office has to love this country. As far as I'm concerned, that's the number one thing. You got to love this country. Okay, you don't tell everybody around the world that America stinks and it's full of crime and it's too many brown people and immigrant, you know what I'm saying? You don't do shit like that. That's not a guy that's representing you. He's representing his own prejudices and bigotry and whatever ism that there is out there that he doesn't like. Okay, that's what he is. And he certainly is a bad example of an American. I don't care how much money he's got. You don't have to be rich to be an American. What you do have to be is a contributing member of society in this country, to care about what happens in this country, to care about your fellow neighbors and your friends and your family, okay? Which is something Trump has never had to do, okay? What the hell was it? Oh yeah, there was somebody was talking about people who hold dual citizenship in this country and saying that they want to, if you're an American citizen, then that's all you can be. You're not allowed to be a citizen of another country. I don't know who it was that presented this idea to Trump, but that was something I can't find it here online, but it popped up on my Yahoo News thing. So if you type it in a search engine, you'll probably find it. But again, that's just another way of trying to separate America from the rest of the world. okay, by shitting on the rest of the world, saying, oh, your countries aren't good enough. So if you're a dual citizen, you're not allowed to live in this country, or be a citizen of this country and a citizen of another. You either have to be this one or that one, okay? And it's never been a problem in this country before for people to have dual citizenship. But he wants to take away that extra passport, you know? And I'm saying, you know what? How far is he going to take this shit? There's a lot of business people out there who have passports to different countries, all right? And if they're going to handle that the way ICE has been handling immigration in this country, you're going to have a lot of pissed off people in this country who cannot do their business anymore because they're not allowed to go somewhere. You know, you know, that's what it is when you don't think. And Trump never thinks. He can't think because his brain is damaged. It's damaged, folks. It's shorted out. You know, the lights ain't on anymore. He's falling asleep wherever he goes. Okay, I don't know what they got him on, but they're trying to keep him awake. You know, maybe they're firing electrodes or something through his back or spine just to, you know, keep him going. But this guy is like, you know, got one foot in the grave and the other on the banana peel, and everybody's hanging on to that foot on the banana peel to make sure that he doesn't fall in, you know, and it's sick. It's sick. Because if they have to depend so heavily on Trump staying alive, then they've got nothing. When he dies, then that means all the dominoes fall. Okay? That's what that tells me, that they are clinging on him to stay alive. But if he dies, everybody's head is on the platter, okay? And they know this because the Democrats they're coming after him. And there won't be a Trump to issue pardons. Okay? So, oh, God, you know, I feel bad for Joe Biden because he's watching all this happen, knowing it didn't have to happen. Knowing that if people used a little more of their brain last year, this country would be sailing along, you know, in a fair condition, okay? We'd be doing things. You know, people would still be working. All of you people who lost your jobs working for the government, you'd be working today, okay? You'd have your jobs, you'd be paying your bills, you'd be staying in your homes. Some of you probably wouldn't have had to move out from where the hell you were. You'd still be living where you are. Or you were, rather, you know, it's just a lot of things people are suffering with right now they wouldn't have had to if they had voted the other way. So keep that in mind about how elections have consequences, because they certainly do. All right, so that's it for today. Hope everybody has a great rest of the week. So subscribe, comment, share, and keep your ears open for health issues out there. And, you know, treat each other well, you know. Be friendly and be helpful to others because, you know, right now, no one person really can stand alone in this world here and make it. I think we're all going to have to accept the fact that we're going to have to be more connected as a society than we have been in the past. That means we got to put away a lot of our hatreds. So that's what I'm saying is just, you know, be there for people. I'll talk to you guys later, so take care, everybody.